see if we're able to do that against the reigning champions of the Champions League. Then, judging by whatever was happening at Real Madrid, they also stood a chance against them. And of course, who has to prepare Benfica? It was Jose Mourinho. And yesterday when we were previewing the game, I said that if the Benfica players can get into the same mood as Jose Mourinho, then they stand a chance against Real Madrid, judging by the defensive issues of Real Madrid this season, and then how not a solid team they are if you have to really assess or analyze them from a deeper perspective or a much more deeper point of view. So clearly, it pointed towards the fact that if Benfica did what they were supposed to do, then they stood a chance. But they can't prevent Mbappe from getting his goals, and that is what happened. But Benfica made the occasion their own. They created that atmosphere. And trust me, in the first half, if they had been a bit prolific, they could have led at the first half by maybe a 2-goal margin or more. But they weren't. But they atoned for that in the second half. And that late goal from Anatoly Trubin was a befitting end to what had been a cinema, a pure dramatic scene. This was a game that offered everything. And I think Trubin's goal was the best way to end everything. And to me, I think it is one of the standout performances of the night. For Bodo Glimt, travel all the way to the Wanda Metropolitano, play against Atletico Madrid, who were on a very consistent streak. I don't remember the last time Atletico lost a UEFA Champions League game at home during normal play or regulation time. I've never seen that. The only times they've lost that penalty shootout to Real Madrid last season, I don't remember a team going there at this stage of the competition and then defeating Atletico Madrid. And not just any side, but Minos, debutants, Bodo Glimt, who even are not playing competitive league as it stands now because the Norwegian league has climaxed. So they are not in session. So it's much more like they are in pre-season. And for them to organize themselves, and then in the space of 2 weeks or 2 match days, they beat Manchester City. They actually embarrass Manchester City, and then they go to Atletico's home, and then they inflict on them a very painful defeat. It is not like Atletico did not need a win. They did, because they were also vying for a spot in the top 8. So it was a make or break game for Atletico in that contest, as much as it was a make or break for Bodo if they were to qualify. And with their destiny on the line and their future in the competition on the line, they went all out. After conceding the first goal, they come back, equalize, and get a winner. Hold on to it and prevent Atletico from scoring another goal. I think that was a beautiful piece to tell in terms of football. So clearly, these 2 results for me are the standouts. And I think these teams deserve where they are. Sporting CP being in the top 8, and then Bodo Glimt qualifying via the playoffs. I think it is the best story you can actually get in the Champions League.
Right. Michael, no, Kelvin, you have the possible matchups for the playoffs. Yeah. Let's go through that before the draw.
All right. So Raymond, the possible matchups. So we have the seeded pairing. So that is from 9th to 16th. They've been seeded, and then the ones who have been unseeded, 23rd to, we have 18, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then the 24th position. Mm-hmm. So Real Madrid or Inter would have any of these 2 sides, Bodo Glimt or Benfica, to face.
And these are the teams that finished in the bottom.
In the bottom, yes. Okay. So they finished the bottom 2. They are going to face, the 9th and 10th. That is, if you look at that table, the first and second from that.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So there's a possibility.
Yes, you are going to have
Madrid could play Benfica
again. There is that possibility, wow. And it will be interesting to see that. And I'll be glad to see that Inter Bodo Glimt game if it happens. I want to see how Bodo Glimt will stand the test at the San Siro and then get back in there. Now, PSG or Newcastle would have one of Monaco or Karabakh. So we could see PSG playing against Monaco, which I'm sure when Nathan comes your way with Inside French, we'll talk about all those stuff. Sporty Newcastle could get Carabao, or they could get Monaco, and I think that any of these two sides, the two teams should be able to make the progression and get over the line. Juventus or Atleti, that is Atletico Madrid, could face Club Brugge or Galatasaray.
That'll be a tough one.
Very tough match. Very tough matches. Any of these two sides. My problem with Juventus is if they meet Galatasaray and, the Lion will even spark their tools. See whether they can. But Club Brugge is also not an easy side.
And Atleti have been inconsistent.
Yes. Club Brugge is not an easy side. So Club Brugge finished 19th, Galatasaray finished 20th, but Juventus finished 13th, and then Atleti finished 14th. Now, Atalanta, who finished 15th, or Bayer Leverkusen, who finished 16th, could face Borussia Dortmund, who finished 17th, or Olympiacos, who finished 18th. So we could see either Atlanta against Olympiacos, Leverkusen against Dortmund, or the other way around, Atalanta against Borussia Dortmund and Leverkusen against Olympiacos. So we could see a German affair here, Dortmund against Bayer Leverkusen being played when it comes to the playoffs. So we wait to see what will happen.
This one, I think it could be anybody's game. All of these four teams could potentially qualify to the next stage of the competition. But let me pick Michael's thought. Michael, we've seen the parents, the possible parents for the knockout playoff draw. What's your thought, or what's your take on what we are seeing so far? And looking at the potential matchups, which teams are we likely to see join the 8 who have automatically qualified?
I think the established teams will likely correct one or two things. And don't forget, if you are in the playoffs, it still does not really affect your chances of winning the competition. Don't forget, PSG won last season's competition through the same route. They did not make the top 8. They had to do the playoffs, and they did not lose any game from there. They lost only one game from there. That was against Liverpool in Paris. But they won all their games, and then they were crowned champions of Europe. So for the big teams who dropped in here, I think that is enough consolation for them. And also, why they did not make the top 8 is a reminder that they still have issues to sort out regarding their team and work things out. But I still expect the big names to dominate in terms of teams that make it from the playoffs into the round of 16. PSG definitely will fancy a chance against one of Carabao or Monaco. Juventus or Atletico Madrid, depending on who gets to face Brugge or Galatasaray. I think if they get their house in order, they rally themselves, and then rectify one or two issues in their side, they should stand a fair chance against any of these opponents. Bodo Glimt have wrote a beautiful giant-killing story in this Champions League, but I think a tie against one of Inter Milan or Real Madrid is a tough ask, because these are stages where you need not just a good team, but also you need character to take you there. And that is what the likes of Madrid and maybe Inter Milan, they have it in abundance, because Inter have made 2 finals in the last 5 years. For Real Madrid, they are the record winners of this competition. And if there is any true embodiment of a side regarding the Champions League, I think it is in Real Madrid. Then for BVB Atlanta, Bayer Leverkusen or Atlanta facing one of BVB or Olympiacos, I think whichever side gets Dortmund will be very much worried, because Dortmund have proved that they know how to navigate passage from the knockout stage of a Champions League. And don't forget, some 2-3 seasons ago, they were in the final against Real Madrid. It should tell you that they're a team that knows what to do to get the result in the knockout. And so if Atlanta gets Dortmund, I think they are in trouble. If Leverkusen gets Dortmund, it will be interesting to note, because it will mean that they've met in almost every competition they too have competed in this season. In the Bundesliga, definitely, they are going to meet. But they met as well in the DFB Pokal. And if they do meet in the Champions League, it will be an interesting one. Then for the other fixtures, I think clearly, but for the Dortmund one, where one of Dortmund or Olympiacos will face one of Leverkusen or Atlanta, the rest of the ties looks clear that the favorites are the established team. And if they do their work right, they should definitely qualify. So I am going to take Real Madrid, Inter Milan. I'm going to take Paris Saint-Germain, Newcastle. Then Atletico Madrid, Juventus. then I'll leave the other 2 slots as open. Anybody can qualify from there.
Right. There's a lot to look forward to in the UEFA Champions League. Right about now, we are dealing with the knockout stage of that particular competition. The league phase is done. 8 teams have automatically sealed their spots in the round of 16. We'll be waiting for the last 8 to join them via the playoff route, and we'll see how things pan out in the next few weeks. But there's another competition to look forward to. There's a second-tier European competition, the Europa League. There are interesting games to look forward to tonight. And I must say, in the Europa League, after 7 rounds, 7 games played, it's very, very keen. The competition is very keen in terms of which teams would seal those automatic places, and of course, which teams would finish in the playoffs. And as things stand now, Olympic Lyon, Aston Villa, Freiburg, Midtjylland, Braga, AS Roma, Ferencváros, Betis, they currently occupy those 8 positions. But between position number 1 and position number 8, you have just 4 points separating all the teams, and there's a lot to play for in there. Aston Villa on 18 points, Lyon on 18 points, Freiburg on 17, Midtjylland on 16, Braga on 16, Roma on 15, Ferencváros on 15, Betis on 14. Promises to be exciting in there. You have FC Porto, who are 9th on 14 points. There's Genk on 13, Red Star Belgrade on 13, PAOK, Stuttgart, Celta, Vigo, Bologna, all on 12 points. And then you have Nottingham Forest, Pilsen, Fenerbahce, Panathinaikos, Dinamo Zagreb on 11 points, and then you have Lille on 9, Brann on 9, Young Boys on 9 points, Celtic on 8. Now you have Ludogorets on 7 points, Feyenoord, Basel, Salzburg, FCSB on 6 points, Go Ahead Eagles on 6, and right up to this point, you know that these teams would be fighting for a playoff spot. Now from position number 30, to position number 36, I think that these teams, regardless of what happens today, may not finish in the playoff stages. And you are looking at Sturm Graz, Rangers, Nice, Utrecht, Malmo, and Maccabi Tel Aviv. But there are interesting games to look forward to tonight. And Kelvin, if you could quickly take us through the fixtures.
Well, so Aston Villa against Salzburg, FC Ball against Victoria Pleasant, Celtic, Utrecht, Midtjylland against Dinamo Zagreb, Porto against Rangers, FCSB against Fenerbahce, Red Star Belgrade against Celta Vigo, Genk against Malmo FF, Go Ahead Eagles against Braga Sporting. There is Lille against Freiburg, Ludogorets, Raskat against Nice, Lyon against PAOK FC, and there is Maccabi Tel Aviv against Bologna, Nottingham Forest against Ferencváros, Panathinaikos against Roma, Betis against Feyenoord, Sturm Graz against Brann, and then VfB Stuttgart against Young Boys. I just hope that Nottingham Forest will be able to do the do and then make sure they qualify, because Sean Dyke and then that misbehavior, he cannot be continuing with it. They are 16th on the log though, and then, you know, any loss from them and then a victory, well, it means they've already qualified. They'll still be in the knockouts, because even if Ludogorets manage to win their game and get 10 points, they won't get past Nottingham. So at least he's safe there. So I just hope, but I still hope that he gets a very good result. The English teams are progressing, and it will be good to see them join Aston Villa to also make that progression and then get into the next stage of the competition.
And Michael, in 2 minutes, Europa League has been exciting, despite the fact that it hasn't gotten a lot of attention. It's been keenly contested in that group with the teams in there. What do you make of the final round of games, and what are expectations?
I think it's similar to the Champions League, because only 2 teams have now secured their place in the top 8. So it means 6 more spots will be up for grabs, and it will make the last matches very interesting if you monitor development. For instance, Roma against Panathinaikos. Panathinaikos have qualified for the knockout via 19. But Roma needs a win badly to cement a place in the last 8. Nottingham Forest against Ferencváros. Ferencváros are undefeated so far in the competition, and they will hope to end with an unbeaten record. They are playing against Nottingham Forest, who need a win to sneak into the top 8. So these are the type of fixtures that will be happening across board. So it will make it very competitive. There are teams who will battle for the top 8, and there are teams who will battle to sneak into the top 24 at the last minute, similar to what happened with Bodo Glimt, Benfica, and the like. So I think, just as we witnessed yesterday, there will also be goals today in the Europa League matches.
Right. Michael, thank you very much for your thoughts, and thank you very much for joining us on the show this morning. And Kelvin and I were just we were paying attention to the Australian Open semi-final match between Arina Sabalenka, the world number 1, number 12 seed Elina Svitolina. And Sabalenka is currently leading the second set. She has a 4-2 lead. And yes, she has a 4-2 lead in there. And she won the first set actually 6-2. So hopefully she finishes off her opponent in the second set and then progresses to the final of this year's Australian Open. So that's how things stand at the moment. And hopefully tomorrow morning we'll be back to run the rule over everything that happens today in the Australian Open. But Michael, thank you very much for your time. And Kelvin also, a big thank you to you for joining us on the show this morning. Hopefully, I will be back tomorrow morning to get into the preview of a super weekend. Lots of football to talk about this weekend. We'll get back and talk about all of that on the show, hopefully on Friday morning.
Yeah, sure. And we just hope we'll also be looking at the Australian Open as well, because
absolutely
we're looking forward to the the men's semi-final and also the women's final, because it will be concluded later today when we have the final fixture being sorted out between, that is Jessica Pegula and then Elena Rybakina. They will be playing that at 10:15 a.m. But there is this update. It says that comes from the discussion we're having about the CAF, decisions, the suspensions and disciplinary decisions. So says CAF, were specific on the official CAF matches in their rulings because they know the ambiguity of match suspension. So making it specific was very much clear, just to eliminate any sort of ambiguity, just like Michael mentioned. So that is it, Raymond.
Yeah. So we'll see how things pan out, but CAF are clear with regards to what they mean with the suspensions. It is only for official CAF matches, and that's it. It doesn't extend to the World Cup. So Pap Thiaw and his boys are free to go and enjoy themselves at the World Cup with their sins, and we'll see how they fare at this year's World Cup. A big thank you to you for joining us on the show this morning. It's been a pleasure coming your way with another interesting edition of Ghana's #1 sports morning show, the Sporty Breakfast. And hopefully, we'll be back again tomorrow morning with another interesting edition of Sporty Breakfast. Until then, there's a lot of sport to talk about on the show this morning. Nathan Kwa will be coming your way in the next 10 minutes with Inside French Football. He's going to talk about everything French football, so make a date with him. And after Inside French Football, there's news at 12. There's news at 12 on Sporty FM. And also, there is Sporty Plug at 12:30. The bet winning show, Sporty Plug, they will be coming your way at 12:30. Nana Kwame Labi, Immortal Jakwa Champo. They'll be bringing you, in fact, what to look forward to as far as the Europa games are concerned. There's a lot to look forward to in terms of